Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Rise and shine, everyone. Hello, we are from Group 1, and today we are going to present our discussion about how to teach poetry stopping by woods on a snowy evening by Robert Frost. But before we start, let me introduce you to our group members. They are Tiya Jamillatun Nikmah, Rumani, Listy Febriana Sholihati, Kharisma Putri Mutiara Sari, and me, Nuryana Nabila. Alright, so let's start the presentation. Here are the table of contents. First, we are going to discuss about the poem, then the theme, literary and poetic devices, and the last, the meaning of the poetry. The first section is about the poem, and it will be explained by Rumani.
Written by Robert Frost, this poem was published in 1923. It was written to capture the conflict between man and nature and also to highlight the difference between duties and obligation we face in our lives. However, it has become one of the most popular poems in English literature. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening is a poem about nature. As the poem is about nature, it has been written from the perspective of an adult who stops by the woods to enjoy the mesmerizing beauty of nature. The expression of stopping given in the first stanza continues until the traveler decides to restart his journey. The expression of not knowing the woods and then releasing ones that is marked the central point of the poem. However, both sides and the minds of the readers is the eye-catching and beauty of woods in the snowy evening.
Okay, moving on. For the second section is about the theme of the poetry. It will be explained by Nuryana Nabila. In general, theme of the poem is an idea that the poem expresses about the subject or uses the subject to explore. Theme also can be defined as the lesson or message of the poem. Theme is usually not stated, it must be inferred. Some examples of themes in literature, specifically poems, are love, redemption, and forgiveness. Jadi, secara umum, tema di dalam puisi adalah gagasan yang diungkapkan puisi tentang subjek atau menggunakan subjek itu sendiri untuk mengeksplorasi. Tema juga dapat diartikan sebagai pelajaran atau pesan dari puisi tersebut. Tema biasanya tidak dinyatakan secara gamblang oleh penulisnya, dan kita sebagai pembaca harus dapat menemukan dan menyimpulkannya sendiri. Beberapa contoh tema dalam puisi yang paling umum adalah cinta, penebusan, dan pengampunan. Thus, what is the major themes in Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening poetry? After doing this thematic analysis of the poem, I found that the main theme in this poem is conflict about desire versus obligation. Jadi sebenarnya apa sih tema utama dalam Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening ini? Nah, setelah melakukan analisis tematik puisi, saya menemukan bahwa tema utama dalam puisi ini adalah konflik tentang pertentangan batin orang dewasa. The conflict between one's desire to enjoy life and the need to work hard to get somewhere in life. The poem comprises the thoughts of an adult, why he stops and why he wants to stay in the lap of nature, forgetting all his worldly affairs. Puisi ini mengusung tema konflik batin antara keinginan seseorang untuk menikmati hidupnya dan kewajiban bekerja keras untuk mencapai kesuksesan dalam hidupnya sendiri. Puisi ini berisi pemikiran orang dewasa tentang mengapa dia ingin berhenti dan tinggal sejenak di alam lalu melupakan semua urusan duniawinya. The travelers wants to take a moment to pause in the quiet woods to watch the snow falling. He is tempted to stay longer, but the pull of obligations and considerable distance force him to leave the woods. Therefore, he puts his wishes aside and starts his journey again. This poem is about the boundaries and limits in which human beings pass their lives and which do not allow them to get derailed from their respective paths. Digambarkan dalam puisi ini, sang traveler ingin meluangkan waktunya untuk berhenti sejenak di hutan yang sepi untuk menyaksikan salju yang turun. Sebenarnya, dia ingin tinggal lebih lama, tetapi tarikan kewajiban dan jarak yang cukup jauh memaksanya untuk meninggalkan hutan. Karena itu, dia mengesampingkan keinginannya dan memulai perjalanannya lagi. Puisi ini berisi tentang batas-batas di mana manusia menjalani hidup mereka yang tidak memungkinkan mereka untuk melenceng dari jalan mereka masing-masing. Emerging from this central theme, there are some sub-themes. There is a conspicuous conflict in the poem between nature and materiality. Nature has a lot of beauty to offer to the ones who will choose to stop and take notice of it. In our daily grind, we have no other option but to be so engrossed in our work and responsibilities that we do not have time to appreciate the quintessence of nature. This beauty of nature is another subject. The natural beauty of snow falling over woods is enough to enter a mortal. There is also the theme of solitude in the book. The narrator is all by himself in the woods, save his horse. However, his isolation does not bother the speaker and he seems to quite enjoy it. This is what makes his isolation solitude instead of loneliness. Nah, berawal dari tema sentral yang merupakan konflik ini, muncullah beberapa subtema di dalam puisi ini. Yang pertama adalah konflik mencolok antara alam dan materialitas. Alam memiliki banyak keindahan yang dapat membuat orang-orang berhenti dan memperhatikannya. Akan tetapi, karena kesibukan dan tanggung jawab akan pekerjaan, kita tidak memiliki waktu untuk menghargai intisari alam. Keindahan alam ini juga termasuk dalam subtema dari puisi ini. Keindahan alam, salju yang jatuh di atas hutan sudah cukup untuk menghipnotis manusia. Selain itu, ada juga tema kesendirian di dalam puisi ini, di mana narator digambarkan sendirian di hutan bersama dengan kudanya. Namun, keterasingannya ini tidak mengganggunya dan malah tampaknya ia cukup menikmatinya. Hal inilah yang menjadikan keterasingannya kesendirian, bukannya kesepian. For the third section is about the literary devices, and it will be explained by Kharisma Putri Mutiara Sari.
Analysis of literary devices in stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Seemingly simple, this poem by Robert Frost is loaded with meanings on account of the use of the following literary devices. First is metaphor. The poem doesn't have any metaphors, however, there are two extended metaphors in the poem. The last line of the third stanza in sentence, sweep of easy wind and downy flag. And then the second metaphor is used on the last line with repetition sentence, and miles to go before I sleep. Here smiles represent life's journey, while sleep represents death. Second is personifications. Robert Frost has personified the thinking of the horse midly in the second stanza when it stops. And in the third stanza, he gives a sign to the reader. He gives his harness bells a shake or to ask if there is some mistakes. It shows as if the horse is a human being who understands his owner's needs or inquires if they have to stop. Third is imagery. Imagery is used to make readers feel things through their five senses. The poet has used to make image for the sense of sight such as woods, a source of solace and comfort to a lonely traveler. Fourth is alliteration. Alliterations are the repetition of the same consonant sound in the same line, such as consonant use of W, W, and S sounds. The following phrases are example of alliteration from the following phrases are example of alliteration from the poem Watch his roots, sound the sweep, and his house. Fifth is assonance. Assonance is repetition of the vowel sounds in the same line, such as sounds of E and A come in quick succession in He will not see me stopping, and in he gives his harness belts a shake. Sixth is assonance. Consonance is a repetition of consonant sounds such as wh and th sounds in whose woods are this I think I know, and wh sound in to watch his woods fill up with snow. Then the last is euphony. It refers to the sound that is pleasing to the ears, while the journey through the forest is of the loneliness. According to the rapid force, woods are not haunting or even scary, but provides comfort and calmness. The woods are also represent uncorrupted word that the traveler wishes to say. Therefore, it is euphony.
Next, the fourth section is about the poetic devices, and it will be explained by Listy, Febriana, Sholihati.
And the next is analysis of poetic devices in stopping by wood on a snowy evening. Although most of the poetic devices are part of literary devices, yet some devices are only used in these poems. The analysis of some of the major poetic devices used in this poem is given here. And the first one is stanza. A stanza is a poetic form of a different number of lines. It could be 3 or 4 lines. Here, a stanza comprises 4 lines each. And the second one is quatrain. A quatrain is 4-line stanza taken from Persian poetry. In this poem, each stanza is also a quatrain, so the rhyme scheme is a bit different. And the third one is rhyme scheme. The whole poem follows the AABA rhyme scheme. Frost has used and rhyme in every first, second, and fourth lines of the poem. The third line of each stanza rhymes with the next stanza, such as no, do, and snow rhymes with each other in the first stanza, and he rhymes with near in the second stanza. And the fourth is trochee. Trochee is the use of one stressed and one unstressed syllable in a single line as given below in the next poetic device. And the fifth is stressed and unstressed syllables. These two types of syllables are used in trochee, such as the first is stressed and the second is unstressed syllable in whose wood, and the second is whose wood. These are I think I know, and this pattern continues throughout the poem. And the sixth is repetition. There is a repetition on the first and miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep, which has created a musical quality in the poem. And the last is refrain. The lines that are repeated again and some distinct in the poems are called refrain. Therefore, the repetition of the last 2 lines of the poem with some words are also an example of the refrain. This analysis shows that this poem, through a simple and innocent composition, points to the reality of making decisions in complex situations in order to fulfill our responsibilities. Thank you.
And the last is about the meaning, and it will be explained by Tiya, Jamillatun, Nikmah.
Meaning, the course of the poem lays in the conflict in a moment of slack resource pending obligation. The narrator is still brought by momentary distraction of the worldly receptibility, allowing himself a moment of peace being natural to the core. Robert Frost ground his character in a forest. Memorizing by the snowy evening, the poet immediately indicates the presence of women close by, elite indoors, oblivious to the presbytery. The words of the narrators are immensely thick, dark, and stand in all their glory. More so, the poet point and image aids in naturally beauty, throwing the deep sensory emotion for the reader. The words are blankets in thick snow. M.Pd is beauty factor. The narrator voices his concern about losing his way through the word sense. It gets emotionally track at night time. It takes to better get a move on. Makna inti dari puisi ini terletak pada konflik di saat pelipur lara versi kewajiban yang tertunda. Narator terpesona oleh gangguan sesaat dari tanggung jawab duniawi, membiarkan dirinya merasakan kedamaian. Menjadi naturalistik pada intinya, Robert Frost mendasarkan karakternya di hutan, terpesona oleh malam bersalju. Penyair dengan lembut menunjukkan kehadiran manusia yang dekat, meskipun di dalam pintu tidak menyadari orang yang lewat. Hutan untuk narator sangat tebal, gelap, dan berdiri dengan segala kemuliaan mereka. Lebih dari itu, penyair melukis sebuah gambar terukir dalam indahnya alam, menggambarkan emosi sensorik yang mendalam dari pembaca. Hutan diselimuti salju tebal, memperkuat faktor keindahan narator, menyuarakan keprihatinannya dengan kehilangan jalan melalui hutan, karena hari menjadi sangat gelap. Di malam hari, dia memutuskan untuk bergerak lebih baik.
Alright guys, this is the end of our group presentation. If there are any questions or criticism, please drop it on WhatsApp group and we will do our best to answer it. Thank you so much for joining and watching this video till the end. See you next time and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Goodbye everyone.